I will now ask Lee Waters, our Deputy Minister for Climate Change, to wrap up the debate.
Thank you very much, Conference. If you'll indulge me a second, I was thinking up on the way yesterday. It's been 25 years exactly since I first came to a Welsh Labour conference in Llandudno. I still haven't learned the vital lesson. You should go to bed early on the Friday night. And I've spoken from this platform as a student delegate, as a CLP delegate. I've reported on it. I've written speeches for other people who've stood here. I've spoken as a candidate, as a Senate member. And I can tell you I'm as proud as punch to stand here as a minister in our new climate emergency as part of the Welsh Government on this vital mission that Mark Drakeford has given Julie James and I. And can I say what a pleasure it is to work with Julie too. Julie is a radical politician who knows how to get things done. And I think between us, we are working as a double act to pull off the twin challenges of tackling the climate and nature emergencies, but also building social justice as we go. These are two sides of the same coin. There's a threat from climate change, but there's also an opportunity. If we do this right, we can do things that will improve the quality of life of the people this movement was created to help. A year ago, Ken Skate and I launched a radical transport strategy, and Julie and I are now delivering it. And at the heart of that is a vision for buses. As has been mentioned, buses have been a neglected part of the transport system for too long. They carry 3 out of 4 journeys, and we know that 80% of people who travel by bus don't have a car. So there's a social justice imperative to improve the bus system. And in a few weeks' time, we'll be launching a radical bus strategy for Wales that will put right the damage done we're still feeling from Tory privatisation from the 80s, put passengers before the profit of private companies, and join up a system, and crucially, join up bus and rail to make public transport the easiest way to get around. And as the delegate from Unite reminded us, one of the victims of the privatised system has been the workforce. The wages of bus drivers have been suppressed since privatisation in the 80s and have still not caught up. And the industrial action we saw late last year was a symptom of that. So we have an opportunity to create one network, one timetable, one ticket, and a set of just working conditions across the country. So the prize is big. And from a climate point of view, right across the piece, we need to make the right thing to do, the easiest thing to do, whether that's recycling or whether that's catching a bus. And at the moment, it is easier to jump in a car than it is to use public transport. And until that changes, we will never hit our climate change targets. So we support the ASLIV motion calling for investment to bring about an integrated, accessible and sustainable transport system. And as Geraint Davies reminded us, we have in Wales 20% of the level crossings in the country, 11% of all the stations in the UK, 11% of all the track in the UK, 5% of the population, and we get just 2% of the investment. Rail infrastructure is not devolved, and we do not get our fair share. The UK government are spending £100 billion on HS2, which is an English project. Not a bit of track comes into Wales, and its own business case shows it takes money out of the Welsh economy. But we are not getting our share. If we had our share, we would get £5 billion to spend in Wales. The Scots are getting their share, they're getting £10 billion. We deserve £5 billion to spend on implementing the public transport vision that we have. And that's a call we must keep making to the UK government, who are selling Wales short. But that is just one part of a radical package we have in transport. We are rolling out next year a default 20-mile-an-hour speed limit in all residential areas, which will improve road safety. You are 5 times more likely to die if you're hit by a car at 30 than you are at 20. This is going to be a big culture change, the same as seat belts or banning smoking in pubs that we'll be bringing forward. We're giving councils extra powers to tackle pavement parking. We've dramatically increased investment in active travel, and we're seeing the brilliant Labour Council in Cardiff using that money to take away road space through the centre of our capital city, in front of our castle, away from cars towards safe cycle routes. When I was elected, we were spending £5 million a year on active travel. This year conference, we're spending £75 million, and that'll be going up. And we want to shift more money into sustainable transport, and we are reviewing all road schemes, a bold, radical, sometimes uncomfortable policy. But we've seen with the bold decision of the First Minister to cancel the M4 project and create instead a pipeline of schemes through the Burns Commission that is now being delivered, and the UK government independent union connectivity review endorsed over the M4 that bold action can produce the right result. And we hope to do the same in North Wales through the Burns Commission that we've just announced. So a bold package of programmes on transport. And as the Cardiff West delegate told us, some of the most boring people in the world sit on the UN panel on climate change. These are highly intelligent but quite dull scientists. And they are using the most alarming words that they can think of to scream at us that we are facing an emergency. If you read their reports, this is dry stuff they're writing, but they're digging deep to find things that we will respond to. They're saying we face a red alert. They're saying it is worse than they predicted. This is the upper end of the projections. They're telling us the window for action is closing. These are people screaming at us to take notice. And it is right that Cardiff West is challenging us. I must say it's great to have a motion criticising us for not doing enough on climate change. So I certainly applaud the ambition about that. What we have done is listen to the scientific advice from the UK Climate Change Committee. And when that climate change advice changed, we legislated to put net zero in law. We have to achieve it by 2050, and every 5 years, we have to publish a detailed plan about how we're going to get on the trajectory for that. We've just published the net zero for this 5 years, and conference, just to give you the scale of the change involved, okay, to get our heads around this, we have to cut more emissions in the next 10 years than we've managed over the whole course of the whole of the last 30 years. And when you think of the last 30 years, we've done things like close coal-fired power stations. We can't do that again. Greater cuts in the next 10 years than over the whole of the last 30 years. Now, the motion is asking us to speed that up again, and the delegate is right. The science is screaming at us, but we need to be sensible and responsible, because the faster we go, and if we go out of step with the scientific advice, social justice will be the one that suffer. The faster we go, the rougher it'll be, and we are committed to a just transition. And as the delegate from Swansea West reminded us, at the moment, it's the people who have contributed the least to climate change who are impacted the most. And we don't want that to be workers in our industries here. We want to go as fast as the science will allow us. And as part of our partnership agreement with Plaid Cymru, we are looking at what the science will tell us about getting to net zero by 2035. 2030, I'm afraid, is a leap too far at the moment, and we think that would be reckless given the state of the current advice. So we hope conference will reject the motion but endorse the spirit of it and work together to keep pushing us as fast as we can. And we have taken action since the election. We've done a review into tree planting. We need to plant 86 million trees in Wales within the next 10 years. And there's an opportunity there to use that timber. We currently import 80% of our timber. Only 4% of Welsh trees we use to build the timber frame homes that Julie James has been radically putting into action. We've done a review of wind deployment and have set out a series of practical steps. So we are going at it. Conference, I trust you. Julie James and I are as impatient as you can be to fulfill this mission we've been given by the First Minister. This is something that we should all be very concerned about. Done right, we can advance social justice and climate emergency together. Diolch.
Thank you. Sorry to have to stop you there. Sorry. Okay.